Welcome back to XCOM 2. Previously we defeated the Chosen Warlock for the first time in battle and rescued an engineer for ourselves. Then we moved out to assassinate an Advent general. We were successful in doing that, however the enemy's wall hacks got the better of newcomer Xenon, who was killed in that operation. We're a few days after the last mission and things are going pretty well. We're even progressing towards the next story mission, but we'll have to talk about that more when the time comes. Right now we're facing a retaliation mission. This is another case where the Advent forces are going to kill some pro-resistance civilians out in some camps somewhere, and we're going to come down and try to stop that from happening. Unlike the previous time we did this, we get the easy version of this mission. In the hard version that we did last time, you have to find individual civilians and rescue them. Here in the easier version, they're all in a group somewhere on the map, and they're actually protected by members of the resistance who will fight for you here. Finally getting some use out of this usually invisible and useless resistance movement you're supposedly leading. So their warriors count as an extra faction in the battle, and they are attacking enemies, as you can see, which makes things easier for us. So we're going to come up and support them. This building's under attack from the north from this perspective, and we're coming in from the south. Arakamani runs up to take a look at what's going on, but actually on the eastern side of the building there was a whole load of enemies that we hadn't seen yet, and they now get aggroed onto Arakamani after they spot him. Not an automatic problem, but the way they move after seeing him puts him in a dangerous position. He's outflanked by a Muton there, the first time seeing that enemy. This is the enemy's heavy infantry effectively. They can just hit you with grenades and very powerful plasma attacks, so they're dangerous opponents. In this case, since he's on his own, we should be able to save Arakamani. A grenade removes its cover, and now we can get Spooky Samuel to move into a position where the Muton is outflanked. Don't have a complete chance to hit here, but Spooky Samuel does it for us anyway. So there we go, that's the flanking enemy removed. We're also introducing here Takehisa Todo. This is our replacement Reaper, who I got via Covert action. So this guy is the same as Elena from earlier, effectively. Now, in the alien turn, they're going to focus on going after the resistance and after the civilians, and that's one of the other things that makes this type of mission much easier than the usual retaliation mission, because the enemy focus so heavily on fighting the resistance and the civilian survivors. They don't really pay much attention to you, so they're all running into this building rather than running around the outside to outflank us. That said, the civilians and the resistance are taking quite a pounding, and we can fail if too many of them die, so we should really move up and try to sort things out. Multiple resistance soldiers have died already, so the help they'll be providing is only going to disappear over time. This mech moves up and puts a suppression onto Constantinus in the back corner. Could barely see him there. And there's some more shooting from the enemy, killing yet another resistance soldier. We need to get in there fast because everything is going wrong. Now this resistance troop gets a terrible miss against an outflanked Muton there. Very embarrassing from her. So time for us to move in and clear things up. Yoshiaki once again saves the day by taking out the robot, so that means Constantinus is no longer suppressed. He can move without triggering Overwatch fire. Next, Spooky Samuel has some sort of theoretically possible shot through the building through a load of gaps to hit the Muton that the resistance troop missed, and we do get that kill, so that's going to level the playing field. Takehisa, our Reaper, up on the roof, takes a shot against a partially covered stun lancer and gets the hit there, so that's good. He does get revealed, but at this point we're in an open firefight, so he was going to get revealed at some point, and that's all good. And that's probably going to save another civilian by getting that kill. Arakamani uses a run and gun. This allows him to dash right up to the front line of the combat and then also take an action. I'm just going to go into Overwatch here because the chance to hit anything isn't really high enough. And Crotch can move up to the edge of the building as well, where he can peer through this gap and see the civilians, and he can overwatch over them. Now once the alien turn starts, we immediately need to use that Overwatch. He fires at the stun lancer and gets a hit through the wall as well, so that's very good. Another troop appears though in the other corner of the building, and this guy gets a hit on the resistance soldier next to Arakamani, so that might be all of them in this area dead. However, the civilians are almost saved. There's a couple of civilians still alive there anyway. To deal with that trooper, I decided to do an unnecessarily experimental technique. There's this ability on the Grenadiers called Demolition that I never used, which fires at an enemy but only destroys their cover. It doesn't actually damage them, but in this case that's just what we need, since it allows Takehisa there to take him down. Firing a grenade would have done the same thing and also killed the enemy, so it wasn't the best thing, but at least it uses your theoretically infinite ammo rather than your finite number of grenades. So we saved 3 civilians there, but there's a whole load more at this other camp right next to this one that we need to go and save as well. And the resistance there are being quite productive at the moment, just shooting enemies all over the place. Now I believe that when the resistance attack enemy pods that aren't aggroed into the fight, so they aren't attacking you or attacking the civilians, the enemy don't react when they're fired upon in this scenario. Being shot by the resistance can't aggro aliens in effect. So that means if you just sit here and hit end turn, I think you just eventually win, because the resistance will slowly kill everything around them while they're just being static and not being able to take part in the fight. However, we want some experience from this, so we do need to move troops up to kill enemies just so we can grab a few kills while we're still here. So our commander moves up, triggers a pod that was sitting right on top of the civilians, and a fight breaks out. He immediately kills the nearby mech, so that's a good start, but the other troops will be able to get some kills on the civilians. So if we hadn't actually showed up and caused the enemy to bother to attack the civilians, they would have been fine. So this is very weird and counterproductive, but XCOM's game rules don't necessarily make any sense in many cases. So there we see a resistance member blew up a purifier who was in amongst the civilians. Luckily that doesn't kill the civilians for some reason, so that's another strange rule that happens to be in our advantage this time. Crotch moves up and takes out one of the troops there, that's very good. We've got most of our troops up on the ridge overlooking the situation. Takehisa takes a shot that was only 40-something% to hit, I think, and actually gets a hit on that troop on top of the shipping container. So that does actually clear up the situation. It looked like everything was dead, but the resistance firing at more purifiers in the distance revealed there were enemies still on the field. So one purifier blows up there, another resistance member comes over here, shoots into the darkness, and another purifier blows up. Then all of a sudden a Faceless appears right in the middle of these civilians, probably a little bit too late to join the party here. Crotch was standing right next to him, so he just blows it away with a quick blast. And that was the end of the battle, funnily enough. Lots of the enemies attacking the second camp had already been killed by the time we really got involved in that fight, so it was pretty easy, and we ended up with the flawless mission ranking for no deaths and no wounds, so everything was perfect, a very productive expedition for us. Right after that, we were thrown into another mini-mission of a sort. One of our covert actions has been ambushed. This can happen from time to time, and it means the agents you send on a covert action have to try and escape from a map, and it's only going to be just them. So here it's Ghost, Devin and Mary trying to get out of this town full of zombies. There are a few Advent soldiers trying to stop us. I'm going to skip over pretty much all of this mission because it was very easy. The Advent soldiers, of which there were only a couple, are easily annihilated by our decent operatives, and while the map was completely full of Lost, that didn't present much of a problem because we can do things like this. The pistol on sharpshooters never has to reload, which means you can fire it a theoretically unlimited number of times per turn if you keep killing Lost, because you get your action back, so we can use that to just kill whole swarms whenever they appear. So we did escape safely in the end. It just took like 20 minutes. So that was the end of that. And it does also count, by the way, as completing the covert action. Can't remember what it was, but it probably doesn't matter. Now, I think over like a week later, in the next month of the game, I completed the construction of the training center. Normally I wouldn't remark on making a building, since you'd pretty much have to do this to progress the game and it's not particularly remarkable, but the training center is nice in that it lets you buy perks for your soldiers. They can get the perks that they missed while leveling up, and even take perks from other classes, so you can make some strange hybrid classes using this. So this just effectively means that our best troops who've earned loads of ability points through doing special things in battle will now become more useful and more interesting, hopefully. Now it's time for the next resistance action. I was sitting there just scanning away trying to build things faster at the skirmisher base. I'm going to go with this one right here. We had 3 options as usual to get supplies, intel or a new soldier. I'm going for the supplies one not because I need the supplies, but because this particular mission cancels the Advent Dark event that stops us from being concealed at the start of missions. Those dark events are effectively debuffs or challenge run rule type things that the game gives to you from time to time. So our mission is to collect a thing on a train in this train yard, and the special condition, the sitrep, is that this map is full of robotic enemies. So all of the enemies are robots, and there are also some turrets defending the train. I take up position around and on top of the nearest building to where we started, but not inside, because as we see there are some robots on the inside. However, Crotch can send in his little robot to try and hack these guys in order to either shut them down or cause them to fight on our side. I thought the latter option was more interesting, even though there's only a roughly 50-50 chance of it actually working. It doesn't work as it happens, and when you fail a hack, it actually for some reason makes the robot become better. It gets more aim and defense being its dodging stat effectively. So that's annoying. Now we're going to have to fight a slightly powered up version of that robot and its two friends. Luckily we've got WotC here from Sinews of War, who breaks the window and immediately downs the robot I was trying to hack there, so we've dealt with that threat. The other two robots move out of the building, one stands out in the open, the other one comes up onto the roof. The guy on the roof is no problem because we've actually got Kojiro sitting right here, so he just fires at it and down it goes. With our upgraded weapons, we can kill these robots in one shot, so it's really no problem to deal with them. And there goes another one from Troll Hunter. That's the first pod dealt with then. Now we need to move up and try to get to the thing on the train we're meant to be stealing. Naruko, who is still concealed thanks to her special ability, can see that there are about 4 robots and 2 turrets on top of the train defending it. So that's what we need to work against. And now we've got the Chosen throwing herself into the mix as well. We did go a mission there without the Chosen earlier in this episode, so I guess it was time for them to show up. Now Spooky Sam gets the fight around the train started by firing at one of the mechs. Unfortunately doesn't kill it. We're not guaranteed to get a one-hit kill on these things, and that's going to aggro them away from the box that they're defending. And hopefully now we can kill them because they're all out in the open. Troll Hunter downs one. That was the one that was actually already damaged by Spooky Samuel, so not a very efficient way of dealing damage there, since it only had 1 health and we did 8 damage. Could have killed one of the others in 1 hit. But let's not complain about that. Lordovix downs another robot. He's doing very well for his first battle, and Kojiro can see another one, or at least the game claims he can. He's going to shoot through the wall here. He's got a 100% chance to hit, and he does actually get the kill. Because in my crazy mod everything has a higher chance to hit, and because the robots are easy to hit because they're big and they can't take cover, we actually are doing really well in this battle, and I think this special robots only challenge battle is probably much easier than a regular battle would be, because even though they're dangerous and can do guaranteed damage attacks against you, we're just not letting them fire at us because we're doing so much damage right back to them with all these 100% chance to hit shots. Anyway, one of the turrets gets aggroed onto us as Arukamani downs a robot, but Troll Hunter takes that turret out of the equation. There's still one more, we can just about see behind it. The enemy though decide to throw in some reinforcements. They drop some troopers and an officer right in front of us, and this is actually pretty good because right now in the story our objective is to use the Skulljack on an officer. The Skulljack is a melee weapon that hacks enemies effectively to get into the alien's weird psychic brain network, which we need to do at the moment. Now our Overwatch's trigger and the shooting starts. This is dangerous because we don't want to kill the officer. The Skulljack only works on living targets. Our troops kill a load of troopers, and then Arukamani annoyingly kills the officer, and he was the one with the Skulljack, so he should have known better. So that's our story mission failed. We'll just have to wait for another mission to give us a chance to do that. Now we just need to deal with the 2 other troops from the reinforcement pod. The first one's going to go down to a 1-2 punch. Troll Hunter gets rid of the cover and Spooky Sam annihilates the troop. Then it's just a regular Advent soldier, and he can be outflanked by Arukamani and destroyed, although the camera kind of missed it there. So there we have it. That's all the enemies we can see down, but there was still something I wanted to do. You can see there's 2 pieces of loot that are about to expire up these train tracks. So I'm going to do a risky maneuver to try and get them with WotC. First, I'm going to use Crotch's aid protocol to give him this weird shield thing. This decreases his chance of being hit by stuff by 50% in absolute terms, which makes him pretty defensible. Now he can stand on a tile that has both loot squares overlapping it, so he can pick up both at once. The big risk was that by running up like this, I would trigger another pod and he would just be annihilated in the next turn, but it seems that didn't happen, so we got the loot, and the only thing that could see him was the second turret on top of the train, and Nariko can pop out to destroy that there. So actually we got away with that. That wasn't as risky as it looked like it was going to be. However, now the Chosen enters the picture. She appears beside Trollhunter and just annihilates him. He doesn't die, he just loses most of his health thanks to him being a high rank. He is also dazed though. This is kind of like a stasis. You can't do anything while in a dazed state until someone else comes over and revives you from an adjacent tile. Also, the Chosen can kidnap you while you're in a dazed state, but I think they won't do it on the same turn. So for now, she's just going to summon a few elite Advent troopers to distract us, and then she's going to run away somewhere. Spooky Sam misses the Overwatch shot on that trooper, very inconvenient and not like the spooky legend that we know. So now we need to deal with these troops who take up position next to us on this train, and hopefully we need to get Trollhunter out of his dazed state because he's very vulnerable right now. We have the option to actually shoot this train and blow it up, which could potentially kill one enemy, but it looks like it would take 2 shots to destroy the train, so probably not worth it. Better off using our actions to actually kill enemies. For example, Crotch has outflanked this troop and cuts him down. You may notice these troops have much higher health than usual. I guess that's part of the Chosen's ability. When she summons them, they summon as an elite version, a special bodyguard or something like that. Spooky Sam uses lightning hands to get a free shot on one of the enemies and hits, but because of their super high health it doesn't kill him, so I'm still going to have to shoot him again. Doesn't necessarily help us here really. Don't have the best chance to hit on these shots because the enemy are all in cover, and we don't have a way to get rid of that cover right now, but we'll just have to take the chance. Kojiro gets the hit on a roughly 50-50 shot, so good for him. And now I can move over Nariko to revive Trollhunter, so he's back in the game, although he's disorientated, so he's going to be less useful. As for that remaining soldier, I'm going to go all grenades on him, because he's in full cover, he'll be hard to hit normally. So we threw grenades over the side. The first one destroys his cover. My plan was then to have Spooky Sam run up and shoot him with a pistol, but for some reason you couldn't see him here. I guess these pillars are just blocking everyone's line of sight. So we'll throw an incendiary grenade, Spooky Sam's special item forwards that I gave to him for no particular reason, and that does the job. Now we're going to send Cobus Lordovic's robot forwards to go and hack the box that we're supposed to be picking up to prevent it exploding. That removes the time limit on the mission. And the robot, if you were looking closely there, also saw that the Chosen was sitting next to this box. We've got a couple of potential rewards to pick up, but we don't get them. It was a bad hack, unfortunately. At least the detonator is disarmed, so now there's no time limit. Time for the Chosen to act again though, and she's pulling out the anime moves or something this time. She can do this special move called Harbor Wave, which hits you with a huge wave of psychic energy. Fortunately, that doesn't do any damage because Trollhunter almost certainly would have died if it did. It just puts everyone in a dazed state. So 4 operatives are now in that state, meaning we're actually pretty weak right now. All of these guys can't do anything, and we need our other operatives to revive them if we need to get them back in the fight. However, there is another way to get them back in the fight, and that is to kill the Chosen. Arukamani gets us a great start with a critical hit that takes off most of the Chosen's health. Then Cobus Lordovix moves up to outflank, and that Chosen has a trait which causes them to take more damage from close range attacks. So that attack does loads of damage as well, and just like that, the Chosen is defeated. That causes all of those dazed states to go away, and now we are fine. The battle continued because there are still more robots further up the tracks that we need to face, so now it's just a matter of drawing them in and beginning our offensive. Trollhunter downs the first robot with a nice easy shot. Then both Spooky Sam and Kojiro had to shoot the second robot, both doing 6 damage to bring it down. I think Cobus Lordovix shot one of the robots up on the roof of the train. It then jumped down, and Nariko killed it with an overwatch from on top of another car further down the train, leaving just 1 enemy mech. It moves up, Arukamani was in overwatch right in front of it and gets the 1-hit kill there. So easy peasy, that last pod was no threat whatsoever. And in general, as I said, the robots are quite fun to fight because while they're dangerous, they're so easy to kill that you can actually get away with killing loads of them in one turn and triggering lots to attack you all at once. So mission accomplished, then we got the thing. Nobody was killed, so that's always very good to see, and a load of promotions to go around as well. There'll be a couple more generic missions to go before we get on to the next big or story related mission, but it's all good practice for our heroes. We'll certainly need it because things are only going to be getting harder from here, so I hope you'll join me for the next part.